I snagged a great deal on a nice Maytag washer-dryer set when my boss upgraded. Came with a few small problems though, like the dryer refusing to start. No drum, no blower, not even motor sounds. Nothing but a faint click noise after the chime. Time to take it apart and find out why. I had a whole sequence filmed showcasing the issue, but I messed up and formatted that memory card in my rush to prep for a convention back in October. This first section, therefore, will feature a dramatic recreation of the problem and showcasing what I did to fix it. Unplug appliance and proceed at your own risk if attempting to follow along. Top panel is held by two 5/16" hex head screws at the rear, with tabs and slots at the front and the rear corners. Slide it back and lift away. Service manuals are usually located up top on this style of machine. Troubleshooting procedure suggested a couple potential causes: central control unit fault or motor circuit fault. Continuity check between P8-4, the door switch, and P9-1, switched line to motor, showed the motor circuit was intact, so looked like a control unit problem. Manual said to just replace, but that's aimed at a tech who needs to fix issues fast and be on to the next service call. Around here, we rarely pull out the parts cannon like that unless we have to. Since I could hear the relay click, logic was working and relay was at least mechanically cycling. Already narrows it down to something in the power section. No obviously loose or damaged wiring I could see, so had to dig deeper. To remove the control unit, unhook all connectors, take off this 1/4" screw, slide tabs out of the keyed slots, and lift. To extract PCB from the enclosure, first unlatch and remove the upper shield. Depress the latch tab starting from the relay end while providing gentle upward pressure on the board. Work along towards the opposite end until all 6 are unhooked and the board slides free. Flipping it over revealed a nice little blast mark on the lower enclosure and a vaporized connection here at one of the relay pins. We'll never know if factory defect or a random failure. Instead of messing with the destroyed trace, I instead soldered a piece of 14-gauge wire around the relay pin and made a bridge to the back of header P9. Put it all back together, and just like that, it fired up. Motor current's right in range for 1/3 horse at low load. Electrically, it's good to go, but it's f***ing filthy if the dust cloud out the pipe was any indication. Even more so than the previous unit, this one needed a full teardown and cleaning. I'll pick up disassembly procedure just after verifying the control unit repair. First, remove the 5/16" screw and the electrical box cover. Then the green 5/16" screw holding the ground wire. Work the power cord grommet out of its retainer. Take note of polarity before disconnecting. In this case, the spade terminals are different sizes to enforce the correct polarity. Now the top rear brace comes off. 2 screws at the edges on top, plus 1 screw holding the wiring harness tray, and 2 more screws up under the lip. All screws from here on out are identical 1/4" hex head screws unless otherwise specified. A constellation of 10 screws holds the rear panel on this model. Make sure you get them all. Panel pivots out at the top, then lifts out of retention slots at the bottom. However bad I thought it would be, this poor dryer exceeded my expectations. A mat of lint, animal hair, and sand has caked the bottom. In fact, it's easier to scrape and brush it out before using the vacuum. Can't do much more back here for now, so moving on to the front. Unhook the wire harnesses from the control unit. Remove 2 screws at the corners of the control panel up top. Pivot top outward slightly, then pull gently up to unclip. Feed the wire harness through the holes and set it aside. Detach door switch connector. Remove 2 screws from the upper corners of the front panel. Open door and remove 2 Phillips screws from below the drum opening. 4 screws hold the bottom edge. The outer pair must be removed entirely, while the inner pair use slots and only need to be loosened. I left 1 in place. Remove a final screw at top center to release the front panel. It lifts off the hook and pivots forward. Feed wire harness through the hole before lifting up and away. Use caution, it's somewhat heavy. Even more matted debris lurks behind here. Believe it or not, my boss had this apart at least once before to clean it. There's 5 screws holding the front brace, 2 on the front edges, 2 at the top edges, and 1 towards the middle for the harness tray. It sits on small hooks and lifts up to release. Time to finish getting control unit and tray out of the way. For more slack, first remove these 2 wire harness clips from the top edge of the left side panel. Unhook all remaining connectors from the control unit. Detach the 3rd harness clip from the bottom of the tray, then set both tray and control unit off to the side. Remove lint screen and unplug the moisture sensor connector just to the right of the drum outlet plenum. 4 screws hold the drum support, 1 in each corner. Keyed slots keep it there even with the screws removed. Taking it off is somewhat tricky, and I made a mistake here in not first removing this clip at the bottom. Lifting up disengages the slots, but the side panels want to splay out and bind it up. The drum must be extracted from the front support rollers, and the plate must slide forward off the drum interface gasket, then lift away at an angle. Lint screen holder and drum outlet plenum come along for the ride. Guess what? Lots more crud behind here too. This model uses a more sophisticated belt tensioner than the older dryer, same principle of operation and same method to remove the belt. Pull the tensioning idler away from the drum, then extract belt from the motor pulley. Keep hands clear when releasing that tensioner. Drum now lifts up off the rear rollers and comes out, along with the belt. Surprising this unit worked at all with the amount of material built up in here, also surprising it never caught fire. According to the NFPA, dryers cause a significant number of fires every year in the United States. Failure to clean ranks as leading cause among those cases, followed by mechanical malfunction and electrical malfunction. It's bad enough that I'll take the burner and gas valve assembly out too. 2 connectors for the valve coils, and 1 very stubborn connector for the hot surface igniter. 2 screws on the valve brace, 2 on the valve support bracket, and 1 at the rear holding the gas pipe. Tilt gas pipe and burner assembly so tab is clear of the side panel. Valve and burner then slide back and out of the combustion chamber. Be careful with the hot surface igniter, it is very fragile. Look at all of that in the bottom of the combustion chamber. Thankfully not much smell to speak of, and the buildup is easy to remove. Barely halfway done and already had to empty the vacuum cleaner. Wipe clean the window for the infrared flame sensor while you're in here for reliable ignition. 1 screw holds the temp sensor to the drum inlet duct. 2 more hold the duct to the back wall. Twist and work it backwards off the combustion chamber tube. There's a pile of scorched debris in here and more fluff on the dilution air inlets. Deposits on the grill are baked in place and will need more than just a vacuum. Good opportunity to clean up anything around or hidden by the inlet duct. Single screw holds the exhaust duct to the blower assembly, also good to get under here. A screw and tab secure the inlet plate to the blower housing. Here's one reason why this thing coughed out a cloud every time it started. Somebody lost a screwdriver bit to the laundry gremlins too. That's mine now. Vacuum gets anything loose out of here, but there's lots more caked on and behind the blower wheel. Unlike the old dryer, this one has a 1/2-inch square drive on the blower wheel hub. It is reverse threaded, so it is clockwise rotation to loosen. I braced the motor shaft with a backing wrench to hold it still. I was pretty worried with how much force it took, thinking I'd break something off instead of breaking it loose, but once it started moving, it unscrewed easily the rest of the way. If you thought the blower was bad, take a look at the lint screen holder and the drum outlet plenum. Normally there would be 2 screws here and here securing the lint screen holder. Those are missing, so there's some more evidence of prior disassembly. 3 screws hold the plenum to the lint screen holder. Dropping plenum away from the bottom lets the lint screen holder lift out the top. Every time these things move, chunks and dust come pouring out. Lint screen holder unclips and separates into 2 halves for better access, but the foam gasket must be carefully cut or torn to do so. Remove the wiring harness from the humidity sensor if applicable to keep it safe. The vacuum does a lot, but moisture, heat, and airflow have impacted a lot of dirt onto the surfaces. It needs water and detergent to get it all loosened. Here I'm using 10:1 diluted all-purpose cleaner. Plastic brush goes a long way, but the extra baked deposits on the drum inlet grill took a hit from an abrasive pad before they yielded. It's not perfect, but it's much better than before. Burner and gas valve aren't too bad, but worth cleaning up and inspecting while removed. A blast of compressed gas is great for getting inside the venturi tube. Now time to get the structural components cleaned up. Just like on the old dryer, the drum support rollers are caked with dust and tangled hair. Despite different brand and more than a decade between when they were built, the rollers use the exact same layout: plastic retainers and a simple bearing. There's still grease in here, but it's long since degraded into a contaminated paste. Same procedure for all 4 rollers, plus the idler on the belt tensioner. Disassemble, remove all dirt and old grease from shaft and bore. Then lubricate with silicone or graphite and put it back together. Drum contact surfaces likewise need cleaning and dry lubricant. Time to put it all back together. It's the reverse of disassembly, so I'll stick it on fast forward and just stop in with a tip now and then. Located some suitable screws from my bucket of hardware to replace the missing ones on the lint screen holder. Use a screwdriver for better control, less chance to strip out the holes. Remember the reverse threads, meaning anti-clockwise to tighten the blower wheel, and use a backing wrench to keep the shaft still. It will self-tighten during operation, so snug but not cranked is sufficient. Make sure drum belt is roughly in position when replacing the drum. This belt was in good enough shape and did not need replacing at the time. On older machines with more wear and tear, it's a good idea to swap the belts while you're here. Remember to reconnect any wire harnesses that were unhooked before they're inaccessible. Gloves are a wise move when working with the larger components. The sheet metal bit me at least once during this project. Once the belt is installed and tensioned, verify smooth operation of the rotating assembly before going any further. It would stink to have the belt jump off the instant you press the start button. Front panel assembly hooks on the innermost 2 screws at the bottom. Good thing too, given how heavy it is. Route wires through the proper hole so they don't get pinched or trapped behind something. Getting to the lower screws is a challenge now that the dryer's off the dolly. Multiple extension bits are your friend, though propping it on a piece of wood was an option too. In my case, the tool bag was closer than the scrap wood bin. Here's when I put the temp sensor back on the drum inlet duct. Last chance to confirm all connectors and parts in the rear section are accounted for before the rear panel goes on. Route and clip everything as it was before, so no wires can contact the rotating assembly or rub out on a sharp edge. It's a good idea to leave power cord until the rest of the wiring is secure. Follow the polarity at the connector. When in doubt, or there's no labels, the neutral wire on the cord will have stripes or ridges, while the live wire will be smooth. Sorry for the drop in quality, I really cut it close with the daylight filming this sequence. Place the top panel with a small offset towards the rear, then slide forward to engage the tabs. Make sure all of them are properly seated so you don't get a crooked lid or vibration. Had to add a 3/8 inch flare to 3/8 inch NPT gas fitting on this inlet pipe. Your dryer may differ. The NPT joint must use Teflon tape or pipe thread compound. The flare connection itself should not have any Teflon or compound applied. Wait a few minutes after turning on gas and check all joints before starting appliance to make sure there's no leaks. Popped this inspection cover off, but location on the side rather than the front meant I couldn't get the cameras to focus on the burner, even if I could see it with my own eyes. An inspection camera would have been a cool gadget for this part. 3, 2, 1, and it's alive! It started right up, it ignited first try, and it got plenty warm. I put a load of clothes through a cycle, and everything performed as it should. Nice dryer for a fraction of the price of a new one, and I'm confident it won't catch fire now. If you found this useful, consider checking out some of my other videos. I got a wide range of tech, projects, and more to choose from. Now onward, to whatever demands my attention next.